There are a few church essentials that are best done in person and ought to be done in person and almost only can be truly done in person. Okay? And so these are church essentials to being the church. Number one is corporate singing. There is something uplifting when you're standing in a room and there are many voices, maybe hundreds of voices or thousands of voices united in song and praise. Corporate singing, corporate worship through praise and music. Obviously, that can only be done through in-person worship services. You can't really do that well online. Yes, you can get into a Google Room or a Zoom call, but you know that all the voices are going to intersect unmixed, and it's just going to sound really weird when everyone's talking over each other, right? So this can only be done in person. Secondly, the ordinances of communion and baptism, the Lord's Supper and baptism. Yes, we've been taking the Lord's Supper online, but when you're in person taking it together in the same room at the same time, that's how it was designed. That's why we see the exhortation in 1 Corinthians of waiting until everybody is there to take it together. Yes, we're doing it online right now, but that's just a temporary measure. The ordinances are ultimately meant to be practiced in person. So that's why there's a lot of churches that have waited until they come back, until they take the Lord's Supper. And then secondly, baptism can only be done in person. You can't do a baptism over online, right? You need to do it in person. And both of these ordinances are meant to be done in the physical presence of the church. Number three, face-to-face fellowship. Obviously, if it's face-to-face, it needs to be done in person where you can lay hands on people and pray. So this idea of face-to-face fellowship. I'm not talking about digital fellowship. I'm not talking about face-to-face online, but I'm talking about in-person fellowship can only be done in person. And fourth, community outreach events or any type of large gathering outreach event or in-reach event, community outreach events where you're reaching the community, often that you can only do that in person. But these are only four things. These four things need to be done in person. But check out this. There are 7 things. There are more, but 7 to fit on the slide nicely. All 7 of these are essential to the church. They are better done in person. They are preferred to be done in person. But in a time of crisis, they can be done online. And so when we talk about worship, in the sense of listening to a sermon, you can do that online. When you talk about personal worship, which is important, that can be done online. Number 2, Bible teaching and Bible study. This can be done online, and it is being done online. Number 3, prayer. Prayer can be done online. Evangelism can be done online. I'll lean into this more next week. Giving is essential to the church and worship. It can be done online. Groups, fellowship, and edification of the saints can be done online. Disciple making, equipping of the saints, leadership training, leadership development can be done online. Anything that can be done in a school or a university that's moved online can be done for a church online.